Welcome to the Cosmic Business Breakthrough Podcast. I'm your host, Sophia Pallas, and this podcast is for soulful entrepreneurs who want to harness the cosmic power of astrology to elevate their message, unlock flow, and attract their best clients ever. Join me every week and get excited to discover how you can use the energy of the cosmos to get the business breakthrough you've been waiting for. Okay, we are well into 2024 now, and I'm really excited to be sharing today's episode with you. It is the recording of my Cosmic Business Forecast event that happened earlier in January. And at this live event, I covered some of the big cosmic shifts happening this year, like Pluto's move into Aquarius, the spicy, stretchy, and exciting combo of Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus, what Jupiter and Gemini could mean for communication and online learning, and how Mars might help or hinder our business progress this year. And I can't wait for you to listen to this forecast event as well, so that you can get better results in your business this year. And speaking of getting better results, if you hang around until the end of this episode, you'll also find out about something exciting I've been working on behind the scenes for some time now. And it's going to help you to map out a year in business that feels aligned and powerful so you can amplify your success in 2024. Check it out. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Before we dive into this, I would like to acknowledge and show my deep respect to the Yugambeh people as the custodians of the beautiful place I call home, commonly known as the Gold Coast. I also pay respect to the elders, past, present, and across time. I believe it's important to acknowledge the traditional and ongoing custodians of the lands and waters and the places we stand, because our place is a part of our story and the stories of all those who've come before us. So today we're going to cover the major cosmic shifts of 2024 and how these might affect business on a global and an individual level. We're going to talk about the personal planets, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, what they're up to, and what you need to know about them to plan your year. And then we're going to talk about the moon and how to work with the moon phases and some key lunar events that could really give your business a strategic advantage this year. So diving into it, the cosmic themes of 2024. We have the big shift of Pluto into Aquarius. So we are going to feel a power surge in terms of technology, innovation, collective transformation. Aquarius energy is all about the collective. So there is something big happening here around potentially technology and our collective use of it. And I think we've already started to see this with the rise of AI in 2023. That's only going to continue into 2024. Jupiter in Taurus is making this delicious and slightly spicy and exciting connection with Uranus, the planet of change, the change maker, in April, which is going to feel probably, like I said, a little spicy, a little electric, a little stretchy. It could be a big confirmation of something you've been working on, and also some sort of confirmation in terms of what's been happening in those Taurus themes of money, of property, of material things, of the earth, of food technology, of climate, all of that stuff. There could be something big coming through in April. Then we have Jupiter into Gemini. So this energy is really different to Jupiter and Taurus, which we're going to get into in more detail. But this is going to shake things up a bit because Gemini is a fast-thinking, fast-talking air sign that loves to communicate and connect. And we're moving out of that earthy, grounded sign into this fast-talking, fast-moving air sign. So there will be a big shift in energy around May, end of May, when Jupiter moves into Gemini then. Saturn, our big planet of structure, limitations, restrictions, big organizations, will stay in watery Pisces in 2024. So we've experienced Saturn in Pisces for most of 2023, and it's staying in there in 2024 all year. And it is going to make a couple of interesting or challenging contacts with Jupiter in August and again in December, which could take the wind out of our sails a little bit, because this Jupiter Gemini energy is going to be moving fast and moving forward, and Saturn in Pisces may make us kind of drop back into ourselves and get refocused again, which could be a good thing. But it could also feel a little crunchy at that time. The nodes are going to be staying in that Aries Libra axis. So on the Aries Libra axis in 2023, in the second half of 2023, and they're staying there all of 2024 until we will have a glimpse into the next nodal shift at the end of the year. But the nodes on the Aries Libra axis are going to keep emphasizing those themes we started to see come up in October 2023: war, justice, fairness, authenticity. All of that is going to continue to be some big issues in 2024. So overall, we are heading into a time of huge transformation and change in 2024. We've been going through this transformation over the past few years, but we are really getting into it now. This is where the shifts start to gain traction. This is where things start to really move. And that is because Pluto in Aquarius, in that air sign, in that innovative, progressive air sign, combined with Jupiter in Gemini, this fast-moving, fast-talking, fast-thinking sign, is going to bring about some fast shifts in technology, in communication. So I think in many ways, this year is all about rapid, innovative momentum. And this is especially true in online business. If you are in online business, as I know many of you are who are watching this, there are some really dynamic shifts we're going to see in online business, in online communication, in technology in general. So if I could choose one word to describe the astrology of the year, it would be dynamic. There is a lot happening. There is a lot moving. If you already feel like the year is moving fast, it is. And it's going to feel like that. We're going to feel like we have a lot more momentum in 2024. So let's break this down into what it could all mean for you and your business. So Pluto, we're going to talk about the outer planets first. Often I start these with talking about the personal planets, but in this case, I think you need that bigger picture view to really understand then how it's going to affect you on that local personal level. So in astrology, the planet Pluto governs those concepts of power, depth, intensity, destruction and regeneration, elimination, catharsis, those processes of death, birth, sex, breakdown, decay, extremes, violence, crime, power struggles, psychology, and psychopathy. I know that seems like a really big realm for Pluto to cover, but really, it has a lot to say about how we deal with power in our lives and how we deal with those issues that feel uncomfortable to us, the ones we kind of keep under the surface or under the bed, that kind of situation. So in our own lives and businesses, Pluto moving into Aquarius has a lot to tell us about how empowered we are and how we empower others, or if we have some work to do in those areas. And that is because its main job is to highlight power dynamics and some deep-seated psychological patterns that we've got going on. So Pluto moving into Aquarius is a big shift because Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008. It entered Capricorn right around the time of the financial crisis. And that is when we saw this whole decay of the financial system. The problems were exposed and things went through this process of evolution, transformation in some ways. So this is what you need to know, because when Pluto changes signs, the sign of Capricorn is related to those structures of government, of corporate structures, banking, all of that stuff. Capricorn is related to that. So that's why we saw that happen when Pluto moved into that sign. And now with Pluto in Aquarius, which represents this energy connected with innovation and technology, humanitarianism, collective group dynamics, this is where we're going to see this kind of decay being exposed, but also this transformation or evolution of that part of those topic areas in our own lives and businesses. Now, there is that unique edge to Aquarian energy. It likes to be at the forefront. It's breaking ground or breaking the box in some way. And this Pluto energy is going to kind of amplify that. So that's what you need to be aware of with this. Now, I wanted to just touch on a few things that Pluto and Aquarius might highlight for everyone. And I have talked about this a lot in my Pluto and Aquarius podcast episode, but just to give you that general overview again, some overarching themes are technological revolution. So this is the rapid advancements, breakthroughs in technology, that integration of artificial intelligence into our everyday lives, which is already happening, but is really probably going to become very entrenched. We're not even going to realize, and I feel like this is already happening. We don't even realize how much AI is already integrated into our lives, and it's just going to become more and more. It's going to entrench even more deeply. But there will be some innovative solutions because of this, some great probably breakthroughs and some real transformation in a number of industries because of this integration of technology. A good example of this energy in action, combining that humanitarianism of Aquarius with the progressiveness of Aquarius and the technology focus, is that aid organizations like, for instance, UNICEF, in collaboration with the space agency, has actually developed an artificial intelligence model to predict and hopefully combat diseases like dengue fever in subtropical countries. So there are examples of this working really well and advancing us in some amazing ways. And there are a number of humanitarian agencies using AI to tackle big issues. I did a bit of research before today's call, and I was really amazed at what's been going on since 2023, when Pluto first dipped into Aquarius last year. It has come back into Capricorn, and now tomorrow it officially moves into Aquarius until the end of the year, where it will dip back into like the last quarter of the year, where it will dip back into Capricorn briefly and then settle in to Aquarius for the next 20 years until 2043, 2044. So this is a long-term transit, but because this is the beginning of it, this is where we get like the real insight into what's going to transpire over the next 20 years. So in your own business, think about how you're using technology. Think about how you are using things like collective empowerment and bringing people together in community. This is going to be important going forward. And also think about the power dynamics, as I spoke about earlier. Power dynamics in especially the place that is governed by Aquarius or directed by Aquarius in your birth chart. All right, Jupiter. I better move a little faster with these. So Jupiter is the planet of expansion. It is the planet of abundance, wisdom, pretty much all the good stuff. It's considered a benefic planet. And it's going to spend time in both Taurus and Gemini in 2024. Now, Jupiter has been in Taurus since May 2023. And this transit has really had us focused on physical, material things, securing our foundations. Keeping an eye on finances has been a real theme of 2023. And we're also focused on experiences, experiencing things, because Taurus is about the senses as well. We have seen a lot of financial pressure as we try to stabilize and secure ourselves with this energy. And as I talked about, I think on another podcast episode, I talked about how because Jupiter in Taurus has expanded a lot of things, like, for instance, the property market, it has destabilized us and made us really focus a lot on securing our own finances. So there is like an expansion in one sector, and then there's a little bit, there is a reaction to that, which is a contraction sometimes in our own personal sense of financial security, unless, of course, we are benefited by the property expansion of Jupiter and Taurus. And then, there's that, but it has that kickback effect, right? Because we are with Jupiter here a lot more focused on financial issues. And those issues become expanded to us as well. But Jupiter in Taurus has a grounding influence. So even though we've been going through this kind of bit of financial stress, we have been more focused on creating tangible assets and outcomes in our lives and businesses, right? So it has made us rethink what we're offering in business, making sure that it is much more tangible, making sure that it is valuable, all of that good stuff. This is a good thing. So Jupiter has a few more months of slow and steady momentum in Taurus before it shifts gears and moves into Gemini. So this is a time to really double down on what you've been doing in that Taurus part of your chart. Have you been really tidying up your finances? Have you been getting financial advice? Have you been doing something related to property? Or, Taurus, again, is also about food. It's about experience, as I said. So is there something else that you've been doing there that you're really setting foundations and improving over the time that, or expanding over the time Jupiter will stay in Taurus until May of this year, of 2024. Before Jupiter moves out of Taurus, though, it is going to make this connection with the disruptor, the planet Uranus. So let's just talk about that. Jupiter in Taurus being about this lush expansion of the earth, this kind of the sense of fertility with Jupiter in Taurus and money, and then Uranus in Taurus coming in and just putting a lightning bolt into that earth, into that situation. And Uranus has been in Taurus for a number of years now, and it has been shaking things up. So it is the planet of change and awakening, and it is connecting, obviously, with this planet of expansion and growth and abundance. So this connection can feel positive and exciting. But when you think about Uranus energy as well, and what we've been experiencing over the past 5 years, say with Uranus there has been a lot of change in the Taurus type topics. I was talking to someone this week about food and the fact that we don't even think twice about having gluten-free, vegan, all these different types of options when we go to the supermarket. We've got all these different types of milks now. There's so much change in food, and a lot of it has been for the better over the past few years. Like there's been this real revolution when it comes to the food that we can consume, and this real now understanding about where our food comes from, this more of a focus on organic produce, all of that stuff. That's been a great, I think, Uranus in Taurus win. So there is that. Uranus in Taurus shakes the foundations, because Taurus is about the earth and the foundation. So there is a shakeup in a lot of the structures in our life, particularly wherever Taurus is in our charts. As I've said, Taurus energy is connected to the material world. It's ruled by the planet Venus. So it is related to money, food, the earth, luxury, sensual pleasures. So with this Jupiter and Uranus conjunction or connection, we might find things really shift in the financial markets, property market, or in the ways we make and spend money, or the way that we view luxury, the way that we use it. We might see some developments in food or food technology, as I've talked about. There might be an environmental discovery or change. But for you, look at the Taurus part of your chart to see how this might show up for you. What house is it in? What topic area does that cover? We're going to talk about the houses later if you're like, whoa, what is she talking about? But yeah, there could be a real shakeup in wherever you have Taurus in your chart is going through some sort of shift with this connection. Now, this is in late April. You'll feel it probably from around April 9 to the end of the month, and maybe even afterwards. It will probably reverberate afterwards, but that's kind of the peak of the transit. It actually goes exact on April 20th. So that's that. Then we have Jupiter in Gemini. So Jupiter, again, the planet of expansion, is moving along into Gemini, the fast thinking, fast talking, abstract air sign that loves to communicate and connect. So this energy is also going to continue to shake things up, going to continue to grow us in new ways. And, there will be opportunities that come through connections because Jupiter brings us opportunities, right? It brings us growth, it brings us opportunities. So think about that as where it's affecting you and your business this year. It is bringing growth and opportunities. And so opportunities with Jupiter and Gemini come through connections, come through communication, come through learning and experimentation. Gemini is related to inventiveness, dexterity, luck with languages, words, and machines. Now, I did have an example. Oh no, I might reference that a little bit later on, but Jupiter and Gemini is often associated with the inventors. People who we know of as inventors often have Jupiter and Gemini because it really expands that ability to find new ways, find new connections, all of that stuff. So it is a really exciting energy. Now, Jupiter will trine Pluto, which is a harmonious activation, as it enters Gemini. So Jupiter in Gemini will connect with Pluto in Aquarius when it enters Gemini. Now, this is something to watch for as well. So this is going to happen in May and June of this year. This could be a really powerful and helpful transit that creates some sort of turning point for technology or communication and learning. This could be something to do with AI. This could be a real expansion of AI here with that Gemini Aquarius energy connecting. Now, the flip side of that is this sense of overstimulation or of scattered ideas or of too much progress too quickly. So that's something to be aware of as well. Okay. Now, Jupiter in Gemini will square Saturn, and that creates a little bit of conflict as well, or challenge, because Jupiter in an airy, fast-moving sign and Saturn in a deep, slow, watery sign, you can see they might not get along so well. So I talked about this at the beginning of like the wind coming out of our sails. There is that potential later in the year. So Saturn will stay in Pisces in 2024. It's going to start moving forward though, and it's making important connections with the other outer planets. So like I just talked about with Jupiter and with Neptune. So Saturn in Pisces is deep, heavy, it's serious. It's also imaginative and compassionate. So this actual combination of Jupiter in Gemini and Saturn in Pisces can make for amazing creative inventions, because Pisces is still this very imaginative energy, but it can also slow things down. Saturn loves to slow things down, especially when it makes those slightly challenging contacts. So look out for when it makes those contacts in August and again in December, for that sense of, oh, this thing I thought was moving really fast is now all of a sudden there's a bit of a roadblock here. That's Saturn, right? Saturn is also going to edge closer to Neptune in Pisces this year, which is going to make it difficult to tell fact from fiction. Neptune loves to create illusion. It is the planet of dreams, of illusions, of imagination, of it's that wateriness. Like imagine being underwater and how everything is kind of blurry when you're underwater. When that's what you can see is this kind of blur. That's Neptune energy. So when Saturn and Neptune come together, the boundaries are even more blurry. The boundaries get blurred. And this is probably going to be most obvious for us when we're seeing this progression of AI, but then we get this Saturn Neptune, which is going to make it really hard to tell. Is that real or is that AI? That's something to be very aware of, especially towards the end of the year. Okay. And it could mean, AI being used for misinformation, for fake news again, that kind of thing. So the nodes of the moon, before we move on to the personal planets, the nodes are not actual planets. They are mathematical points based on the moon's orbit. And the nodes are close to or exactly where the eclipses happen. Now, the North Node, which is currently in Aries, is associated with where we're headed right now, what we want more of, what we're insatiable for. It's the head of the dragon. And the south node is associated with where we've come from, what we're releasing. It's the tail of the dragon. So because we think of the nodes as a dragon, that's a Vedic astrology representation of the nodes. In 2024, the nodes will stay in this Aries Libra axis. And that means we will keep that focus on independence of Aries, the pioneering spirit of Aries, the warrior energy of Aries, and that being the north node, that the focus, the drive happening there, and the south node in Libra. Libra being the sign of balance, of harmony, of justice. But also, Libran energy has a lot to do with people pleasing. So we may be really releasing our people pleasing tendencies while the south node is there. And anything that is kind of holding us back in relationship is being let go, which is great. However, there is this sense of when the south node is releasing and it's releasing all of this diplomacy and harmony and all of that stuff, that is when we have more potential problems with war, with people getting agitated and aggressive because they've lost this sense of diplomacy and harmony. So move forward with your authenticity and drive and pioneering spirit, that Aries energy. Move forward, but don't cut yourself off from collaborations and diplomacy in this rush for personal progress, because you can feel a rush. You can feel an urgency with the North Node in Aries. Okay, so let's dive into the personal planets. The personal planets, hopefully you can still see everything the normal way. The personal planets are Mercury, Venus, and Mars. The personal planets are Mercury, Venus, and Mars. So these ones are going to have probably the most impact on our day-to-day business activities. The connections these planets are making with the outer planets are going to affect us, but also the movement of these planets through the zodiac, where we're going to feel that. They're closer to us, right? We're more likely to feel that, just like we feel the moon energy more strongly. So if you have a copy of your birth chart and you haven't already got it open and you've been looking through where Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn are, now's a good time to get it out and start looking at what's happening with the personal planets. So Mercury. Mercury is the planet of communication. It's associated with how we think, how we speak, how we communicate, how we learn. It's associated with research, with negotiation, selling, buying, contracts, all that stuff. So this is a business planet, right? You need to know what Mercury is up to. It's really great to know what Mercury is doing because it governs so much of what we do in business. Now, you are probably aware that there's this idea that communication goes a little bit awry when Mercury goes retrograde. And that is when, from our perspective on Earth, Mercury looks like it's moving backwards. This happens usually 3 or 4 times a year for about 3 weeks at a time. In 2024, Mercury will go retrograde another 3 times. We've actually just come out of a Mercury retrograde in January, so I'm not talking about that one because it's already happened. But I don't want you to worry about Mercury retrograde. A lot of business owners get a bit nervous about this, but Mercury retrograde can be a really powerful time, right? It can be an amazing time to reflect on what you've been doing in business, to rewrite things. It's a really good time to get clear on contracts. And so if it is Mercury retrograde and you are signing a contract, please double, triple check it. That is one of the hazy things about Mercury retrograde. You want to be careful about checking contracts, checking your technology, checking your communication. And these are the times to look out for this year. So we're talking about April. We're having pretty much all of April is Mercury retrograde. All of August is Mercury retrograde. And November to December is Mercury retrograde. And mostly this is happening in fire signs. So we'll have Mercury in Aries in April. And normally Mercury in the fire signs it's not its favorite place to be. Mercury, only because it can be a little bit harsh in the fire signs. It's a little bit blunt. It's a little bit act first, think later. So it's not to say if you have Mercury in a fire sign that you're necessarily those things, but it's a very fast, fiery communication style. So the retrograde energy can actually help us to slow down and clean that up if there's any places that we are being a little bit too blunt or too rash in our communications. This will allow us to cool it a little bit, right? It also means, because it's fire energy, we might need to find unusual or courageous or pioneering solutions to some communication issues that come up this year. And remember that Mercury retrograde in particular, great time to review and revise your content, fix tech or content issues. Preferably don't launch new things during these times. So brand new things. If you've launched it before, totally fine. Go for it. Hopefully you've revised it and you use that energy to kind of make a few nice revisions as part of your launch, I guess. But if it's a brand new thing that you haven't put out there before, that's when you might come up against some challenges with Mercury retrograde, because the energy is about reflection and revision. It's not a push forward with a new thing. And you might find a few more challenges if you try and do that. It's not to say you can't, it's just there may be more challenge to that. So preferably if you're launching something in April, August, or late November, it's something you've done before, right? And you're just making it better. Venus. Gotta love Venus. Venus is the planet of love, relationships, money, because it's about what we value, right? It's also about beauty and aesthetics, branding in business. It represents feminine energy, and it changes sign mostly every 4 to 5 weeks when it's not in retrograde. So in 2023, we experienced a Venus retrograde, and that is a long retrograde. It was 40 days and shadow period, which is just like an extension of where Venus has traveled. It's going back over stuff it's done before. So it's not moving forward. So it's still a little bit in its retrograde. Now, Venus retrograde, if you have a Venus ruled chart or you've got a lot of Venus in your chart, you would have felt that retrograde last year. It was a little challenging, especially when it comes to your expression, your self-expression, your branding. Now, we don't have a retrograde in Venus this year. Amazing. Good stuff. And there are certain times of year when Venus is extra happy. For example, when it's in the signs it rules, which are Taurus and Libra, and when it's in Pisces. So you may not know this, but Pisces is actually Venus's favorite place. It is exalted or lifted up in Pisces. So it's good, really good, to pay attention to which signs Venus is passing through and any great aspects it's making with other planets, because this is going to give you an idea of the themes that could come up in your business, relationships, and your branding, marketing, finances, as well as helping you find some supportive energy for those kinds of projects. So in business, we wanted to look at Venus, what Venus is doing, especially when it comes to our brand, especially when it comes to our money and our business relationships. So just really think about that. And these are some hot spots in 2024 to note. So January 29, which is coming up very soon, if you are watching this in January, Venus and Jupiter are teaming up for some good vibes. This is a harmonious trine from Venus in Capricorn to Jupiter in Taurus. This is a great time for a fun event or an opportunity to throw some sort of creative, pleasure-filled twist into your marketing. Ride the wave of good energy to boost your brand. Now we're talking about this Taurus, this Jupiter and Taurus, which is got that sensuality. It's got that going after the pleasure, going after the experiences, and Venus in Capricorn, which is all about integrity. It's all about quality. So if you're running a fun event or you're doing some sort of kind of creative, expansive marketing, you want to make sure that it's quality and it honors that Venus in Capricorn energy. And you want to make sure that it has a sense of pleasure about it, right? And that will really work well with that energy, and you can expand the possibilities with that energy if you're doing something like that, and expand your results if you're taking on one of those kinds of activities at that time. So then we've got March 12th to April 4th. Venus is going to be in Pisces, as I said, its favorite place. This is an opportunity to let the creativity flow, to connect with your audience on that deeper level, the way Pisces loves to connect and and go deep and watch your business relationships bloom. Like, this is a beautiful time. And I actually have a lot of entrepreneur clients who have a Pisces rising, and you're going through a little bit of a Saturn issue at the moment. But Venus in Pisces is really going to bring a lot of sweetness to your own personal brand, your own self, not your self worth, because that's your second house, but really like to you. It's going to feel good. You might have a little bit more of a boost on you, which is great. In late April, April 29th into May, so I think really May, Venus is going to be at home in Taurus. This is another great time for Venus and getting the benefits of Venus. So this is a time, because it's in Taurus, slow down, savor the details, embrace the luxury. You know, if you've got that kind of luxury brand, or if you want to put a little bit more luxury in your brand, this is the time. Plan for some long lunches. Taurus energy loves a long lunch, and embodiment practices. So get back into your body with Venus in Taurus. That will help you get the benefits of Venus in your business at this time. It could be yoga, it could be something like that, but think about how you can get back into your body. In August to September, Venus is going to be at home in Libra. So later in the year, Venus is also going to move through Libra, and it's going to form this lovely juicy trine with Jupiter in Gemini, and that's happening mid-September. That can add an extra dose of charm and expansion to your business relationships, your collaborations, and your creative pursuits, but particularly because it's that Libra energy of collaboration and harmony. Who are you working with, and who do you want to work with? Maybe it's a good time to reach out to someone you really would love to work with or have a collaboration with. Think about that. Those things will work better when Venus is in that good position. And as I'll get to at the end, if you want to know exactly where Venus is going to be throughout the year, there is a way for us to work together on that to really see what Venus is up to and how that you can get the benefits from that throughout the year and in other places as well. Okay, Mars. Mars is our action planet. It is our planet of entrepreneurship. It is our energy, our stamina, our drive, our motivation. So it's a really important planet in business. It's connected with masculine energy. It rules the signs of Aries and Scorpio. It's also got serious staying power in the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn is where Mars is lifted up. It's exalted in Capricorn. And right now, we have Mars in Capricorn. So this is January, February of 2024. We have Mars in its most powerful position in Capricorn. So this is an amazing time to work with that energy and just get things done. You might find that you've got like a bit more motivation to do things right now. You might feel like you can really kind of get through the tasks, or get through things that before you might have fizzled out on. There's just a little bit more staying power now. Now, take note of the things Mars is doing, where it's moving this year, to understand some things that might come up for you in your business. Mars is going retrograde at the end of the year, which means at the end of the year, we might really feel lower on energy and motivation. Because when Mars goes retrograde, we can feel a little blocked from taking action or moving forward on our projects or goals. But it is also a great time to redo things. Again, with that re-energy, like with a Mercury retrograde, Mars is also a great time to redo and revise. And there could be this real sense that something needs a bit of work. And that is kind of where your focus will be. It's not necessarily on moving forward. It's like fixing the problem or reassessing, redoing something in your business, particularly where it's happening, which is in the signs of Leo and Cancer. Now, it's going retrograde from December 6th until end of February of 2025. So it's a long time. Mars retrogrades are long and they can feel heavy, but you can work with them. And it's so good to know that they're there. These are really good dates to know. So Mars is very busy for most of the year. This year, it is making a lot of powerful connections to the outer planets and the nodes. So some of these are a little challenging and some are quite activating, and they might help us to get out of a funk, get moving in some way. Mars is then going to go retrograde in Leo and Cancer at the end of the year, as I said, which means we might be feeling lower on energy, on motivation. We might be resetting on some big plans and goals at that time. This retrograde has been called a crazy cliffhanger to end the year on. So there is this sense of like, oh, wait, what? I have to stop now, because you've been moving forward all year. So just be aware of that and kind of, I would say, like front load your year, really. And especially now with Mars in Capricorn, this is a power-packed time to start off strong, to get things done, to get plans in motion, to get planning done. This is like an amazing time for planning and organizing yourself, even for admin. Like, get your systems, get your processes sorted as much as you can. This energy is very supportive of that. In May, Mars will be at home, May to June. Mars will be at home in Aries. So it's going to feel like you can take a lot of action. It's going to feel like fast and furious, especially because Mars will connect with the North Node. So you can go for gold at that time, but you need to be aware of burnout because it doesn't have that kind of slow and steadiness of Capricorn Mars. It has like a boom or bust kind of energy. So just be aware of that, especially in May. In June to July, Mars is going to be in Taurus, which is not its favorite place. Unlike Venus, which loves Taurus, Mars does not, right? But Mars in Taurus gives us some grounded determination. The problematic or the challenging part of Mars in Taurus is that Mars is a planet of action and Taurus likes to take things slow. So the Taurus energy may slow things down a little bit at that time. While it's in Taurus, Mars is going to be making some really interesting connections, potentially difficult connections, first with Pluto and then later with Uranus. So there could be a few crunchy times with Mars in Taurus as well. But I do think after the action of Mars in Aries, Mars in Taurus might actually be a great time for you to like ground things down again. And it's going to be a nice contrast to Jupiter in Gemini as well, which is going to be kind of fast. Mars in Taurus is going to be slower. Then we have in September to November, Mars will be in Cancer. Now I bring this up because, again, Mars does not love to be in the sign of Cancer. When Mars is in this watery sign, emotions can kind of take over our actions. They can really drive us because Cancer is ruled by the moon. The moon is our emotions. So be aware of getting too defensive when Mars is in Cancer. And this can show up in your creative projects. It can show up in your business relationships. It can show up in a lot of places. And it really depends on where Cancer is in your chart, where this Mars energy is going to affect you the most. Now, in November, we've got Mars into Leo. Normally, this is an easier position for Mars because Leo is a fire sign. So it's a good time to get more expressive in your work and show your passion. But then we have the retrograde from December 6th. So really, until the start of December, it's go, 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 go. Plan maybe to take some holidays. I would say take some time off work in December. Like that would be my recommendation from the astrology, is to really consider, am I planning activities in December already or January? Because these are going to be slower months in business. So really kind of get yourself prepared now. All right. Now, I want to talk about working with the moon. So working with the moon is so magical in business. It's so powerful in business when you learn how to work with the phases of the moon. And that's because the moon is one of the most important planets or objects in Western astrology, second only to the sun in Western astrology. It is a very important planet. It's the closest planetary object to Earth. It has a great impact on our physical body as well as our emotions, because the moon, in astrology, the moon represents our emotions, our needs, subconscious desires, all of that stuff. So it's really good to know what's happening here. The movement of the moon can definitely impact our feelings and energy. And if you are an intuitive entrepreneur, then you probably already are working with the moon in some ways as well, because noticing the cycles of the moon, you will really notice when your energy is higher or lower. And this can help you manage your time and energy better and accept when you can be really productive and visible and when you need more rest and introspection. It is a powerful way to acknowledge and honor those cycles in yourself. So when the moon is new, you can't see it in the sky at all. This is generally the best time to initiate or intentionalize new things, right? Because the energy of the project is likely to build over the month as the moon waxes or grows in the sky. It's the same reason we plant seeds on a new moon, to harness the building phase. So this is a great time to plan new projects, but your energy can be a little lower at the beginning of the moon cycle. So it's not a great time to be scheduling activities that need a lot of energy. Think of it more as a resting and planning phase, right? A resting and planning phase. It's a great time to invite what you want into your life, set those intentions for the month or the year ahead. You can even do some sort of manifestation ritual to supercharge that. If you're an intuitive entrepreneur, a tarot spread, some other kind of intention setting activity. If you're more practical, you don't like tarot, whatever, you can still work with this energy in a really practical way, because when you understand where it's happening in your chart, what part of your life or business is being activated, and you can actively call in things or plan things to do with that part of your chart. So the full moon is the height of the lunar cycle. It's where everything likes to climax or complete. So because of the heightened energy with a full moon, some people can feel a little emotional or anxious around these times, but it can also be a really exciting time for big events. If you're in online business, it could be a great time to schedule an event, whether it's an online event or an in-person event, around a full moon, because people feel energized generally at this time. And I usually encourage people that I work with, clients who are doing especially live launches, to close their cart at or around the full moon, to make the most of this strong and constructive completion energy. There's a completion energy about a full moon. So it's not only a time to, after the full moon is a time to kind of give thanks and feel that release of anything you want to let go of, but leading up to the full moon, brilliant completion and activation energy in business. So these are some things to consider if you are working with the moon phases this year or any year. Pay attention to your own energy. Different people are affected by the moon in different ways. Keep track of it so you know, like notice over a few months, how was my energy when the moon was in these phases? And be really cautious, or don't do any manifestation rituals when there is a lunar or solar eclipse. So lunar being a full moon eclipse, solar being a new moon eclipse, because this is volatile energy. It's not necessarily bad energy, but it's volatile, it's unpredictable. So it's best to let eclipse energy work on its own and just notice where these events are taking place in your chart. So these are some notable lunar events in 2024. So we've just had the new moon in Capricorn. Now, this was the best moon for planning of the year, right? And the energy of this is still happening. If you're watching this in January, you can still work with this energy. It was an excellent new moon for setting up plans to go after big goals in 2024, and even breaking those goals down into, those actionable Capricornian steps, right? It had some extra helpful manifestation energy from a Mars Jupiter trine. So even now, Mars and Jupiter are in this nice dynamic, because we've got Mars, as I said, Mars is in Capricorn in its power pack position, and it's connecting with Jupiter in Taurus. So Jupiter in Taurus being that bringing things to earth, making things tangible. So this is a great time to make your plans tangible and to see some outcomes, to get things in place, to see some outcomes. And particularly, in 6 months' time, you might see some outcomes. If you're setting some intentions now, you might see some outcomes at the full moon in Capricorn in June. And there's a second one in July as well. We get 2 full moons in Capricorn. So this is a juicy energy right now. In March and April, we're having the eclipse, the first round of eclipses, right? In Libra and Aries. So the lunar eclipse, the full moon eclipse, is happening in Libra on the South Node, going to help you release some people-pleasing or other unhelpful relationship patterns, so you can step more fully into your authenticity, into that Aries energy, independence. It could also act a few things around that Aries Libra middle axis that we've seen like globally as well. So we did in October, we did experience an eclipse in Libra, which was right around the time of the conflict initiating in Israel. So there could be a continuation of that story, or some sort of change in that story leading into April of 2024. The solar eclipse in Aries, which happens a couple of weeks later on April 9th, is a new beginning when it comes to your independence and your sense of self, those Aries themes. So look to your chart to see what's being activated for you here. Don't work with that energy. Don't do new moon intentions with that solar eclipse in Aries. Let it happen and notice what comes through for you with that energy. In May, 7 or 8, depends where you are in the world, this new moon is going to be co-present with Jupiter. And this is as Jupiter is moving out of Taurus. So it's a great one for calling in that financial abundance and business success. So if you've been building on something, expanding something while Jupiter's been in Taurus, this is the time to really call that in before Jupiter moves on into Gemini, right? So that's a great manifestation moon. In July, we've got the new moon in Cancer, another beautiful moon to use to call in nourishing and supportive relationships, make time for self-care. It's potentially a great time to call in some support in your business. It's a great time because it's cardinal energy, this has a great business vibe about it as well. Like, what are you initiating in the Cancer part of your chart, or the Cancer house in your chart? So in September, we have a lunar eclipse in Pisces, our first lunar eclipse, our first eclipse in Pisces in a number of years. So this is the start of the nodes shifting, which they will do in 2025, into the Pisces Virgo axis. So this is kind of going to give us a glimpse of that energy, but it could feel quite foggy, this full moon eclipse, especially because it's co-present with Neptune. So consider at that time, what are you releasing or transforming when it comes to your faith, your understanding of intuition and mysticism? How does that relate to your business as well? What's happening? What is the Pisces part of your chart? What might this be affecting as well? Okay, that was kind of the end of the forecast, I suppose. Those are the events that we're going to see, the cosmic events we're going to see play out in 2024. If you want to take things a step further and understand, as I've said, where things are happening in your own astrology chart, it's important to get to know your own birth chart better so you can work out how a transiting planet, or the moon, for instance, is going to impact you personally. So each house represents different parts of you and potentially your business, and has a topic or theme for you to consider. Now, the first house, as I've kind of mentioned, I won't go through all of the 12 houses, but the first house is your identity, how other people see you. It's the most personal point of your chart. It is not a planet, it is a point of your chart. It's based on the specific time and place you were born. If we're talking about business and work, second house is your money house. Eighth house is also a money house, but second house is how you generate your own resources. Eighth house is how you manage the money and how you deal with other people's money or investments and taxes. The sixth house is your daily work habits, your routines, your work life, your health, your wellness, and can be particularly related to your health and wellness at work, your employees, your support system at work as well, in your work or in your business. The 10th house is related to your career, your public reputation, your professional success, what you're known for. So that's a really important part of the chart I talk about a lot, is the 10th house, or the midheaven. This is where we show our work to the world, right? So these are important things to know. So if you've got one of the planets we've talked about during this forecast moving through one of those houses of your chart, this is going to be a particularly important thing for you to know when it comes to your business, right? And you can work with that energy. Importantly, the 12 zodiac signs direct each of your houses. So these are like some keywords for each of the zodiac signs, which we've kind of touched on a little bit today as I've gone through where the planets are. And that's important to understand as well. Like, what is the energy? What is the flavor of this house in my chart? What is the flavor of this planet when it's in Taurus? What is the flavor of Pluto when it's in Aquarius? What is the flavor of Mars in Capricorn? So you can see here, like, for example, Mars in Capricorn, practical, organized, structured, systematic, realistic. That's the flavor of Mars when it's in Capricorn. When any planet goes through one of those signs, it has a certain flavor, but it's also impacting a topic area in your chart. I just want you to understand how this applies to you personally, right? And That is what we're going to talk about next as well, and how you can do this to plan your year in business and work with these energies in a much more powerful and productive way. And this is to work with me and sign up for my Cosmic Business Breakthrough Plan for 2024. So in this planning system, I'm going to show you how to understand which houses are being activated in your chart, what to do with that energy. We create basically a personalized plan from your own astrology chart, from your understanding, like from you learning how to work with your rising sign and how that makes your chart set up. I have a 28-page planner that goes with this, which includes all of these major astrological transits we've talked about and more, including all the dates of the new and full moons, how to work with them, what the flavor of them is. As part of this planning system, I also show you how to understand the overarching theme of your year and your ruling planet. So this is something we haven't touched on in today's forecast because it's very personal to you. And this is using a traditional astrology technique called annual profections. So this is where we find out what's the theme of your year, what house is activated this year, what's the ruling planet of that house, how is that flavoring all of the transits of the year for you as well. And in addition to that, so that is a whole workshop in itself. So you get access to the planner, the 28-page planner, you get access to this workshop, and you get one group astrology activation with me each quarter to help you understand the energy more deeply and get guidance on how to harness it for your business. So this is where we go really month by month and of each quarter and work out how you can work with that energy. And I can also work with you more personally on that group call. You can ask questions about your own chart, and I'll give you ideas for your marketing strategy or your business activities right there on the call, because this is what I do. This is what I do with my clients in a one-on-one. And I really wanted to bring this to you in this kind of juicy group and year-long format. It's very affordable right now. This is a way to access what I do with my one-on-one clients for a fraction of that cost. So if you bought my planner last year, you will know that I'm a pretty meticulous Mars and Capricorn person, not Mars and Capricorn, Mercury and Capricorn person. So this one has a major upgrade, this planner, more transits, more explanations, more examples of how to work with the energy. So the planner on its own is pretty magic. But this year I really wanted to include those astrology activations and that bonus workshop on annual perfections, because those things combined will just be so powerful at helping you theme your year, understand what's going on for you at a deeper level, and just put things in place and have a bit of accountability, knowing we're coming back the next quarter to reflect on what we achieved. So there's a bit of that reflection, a bit of that accountability connected into those activations as well. This is a system that's going to support you for the entire year. And as I said, if you want to work with me privately, which is definitely another option to ramp up your strategic plan for the year, you'd be paying at least 675 Australian dollars for a session. So this is such a great way to get some extra cosmic support. It is $155 for the year, or you can do that in 3 payments of $55. Thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for making time for this, for connecting with astrology in your business. Have an amazing rest of your day, and hopefully I'll see you inside the Cosmic Business Breakthrough Plan.
Thanks for joining me on the Cosmic Business Breakthrough. If you'd like to learn more about what I do, head to sophiapallas.com or follow me at Sophia Pallas over on Instagram. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I'd love for you to take a moment and review the show if you found it helpful and share it with a few friends. Thanks again, and I'll speak to you next time.